Friction is emerging between the Prime Minister and his European counterparts. In the first trade figures released since Brexit, it was goodbye Europe and goodbye 40% of our exports, with imports from the EU also slipping 28%, both record declines, at a time when lockdown saw 2.9% knocked off the economy. Sir Howard Davies, a man who's been at the top of the Bank of England, the LSE, and is now chairman of NatWest, says he's worried what these numbers say about the UK's financial future.
I am rather anxious about the trade figures. The question really is whether that's temporary to do with disruptions and people stockpiling before the change, etc., or does it reflect a fact that people are changing their supply chains if there has been permanent damage to trade. If that's the case, that's quite serious.
With COVID hitting consumer businesses and Brexit hitting exporters, two vital parts of the economy are being squeezed at the same time.
We have been more affected by this combination of COVID and Brexit, which is an unpleasant combination. We are one of the most affected countries in terms of how bad a hit it's been. And then we have on top of that Brexit, which has created, as we can see from today's figures, a lot of uncertainty and nervousness.
Today's data shows that trade with non-EU countries rose only 1.7%, just £200 million, a paltry figure when put against the millions of containers making their way back and forth across the Channel. This week, the Institute of Directors said small UK companies felt so frustrated by the friction caused by border checks that 1 in 5 businesses have stopped trading with Europe altogether. But it's not just goods. In the city, they've seen 7,000 jobs disappear, and Amsterdam take over as Europe's biggest hub for share trading.
There is a trend, and there's no doubt that being outside the single financial market will impose a cost. The financial sector pays an awful lot of tax. It pays about £75 billion of tax, which is over 10% of revenues. And that is a very significant prize. And if that were to halve, say, that would be a huge hole in the government's finances.
That lucrative tax take is what's led European leaders to do an interesting volte-face on their attitude to bankers.
The French are making a big push. It's not so long ago that President Hollande said, "My enemy is finance." And now they are talking about rolling out a red, white and blue carpet for bankers coming back from London. What we forget, I think, is that during the period of the single financial market, London became the absolute centre of finance in Europe.
That's gone now, though, isn't it?
That's over. We shouldn't kid ourselves. They are going to try very hard to pull this activity back.
The government argues today's figures show just a temporary effect and that they're looking at ways of keeping the city competitive, including some controversial loosening of regulations.
It's a difficult balance because you don't want a free-for-all market, removing all regulations, saying everything goes, let's have a party, because that didn't end terribly well the last time. So you have to establish a balance between decent regulation and a bit more flexibility. That's possible, because some of the European rules are not terribly good.
The city's role at the heart of European finance produced growth, money and jobs for this country, something the Chancellor may miss as he tries